You back there when we have some more updates. Of course, we continue to monitor the state of the race in several counties. Many within the counties already know who their county leadership is: governor, senator, and countywoman, a member of the National Assembly. But still waiting for the final results from Kwale, from Narok, and from Nairobi as well. And that's actually one of my first questions that I want to pose here to Dr. Eric Komolo. What are some of the factors, Daktari, that could lead to a delay like this one, especially for Nairobi and Nairobians asking, surely it's not a distance issue, it's not a logistics issue. What are possible factors?
Well, Nairobi is generally volatile. Remember, 17 constituencies is a big number for a county. Remember that we've had a lot of hotspots in Nairobi, generally speaking, particularly in places like Starehe, where people seem to question results and all that. I've heard you mention Narok. I myself voted in Homa Bay 3 days ago, and on my way back, I noticed two important things. One is that in Bomet, for example, there was clearly some element of violence. A lot of youths on the road, so that could also lead to delay in transport. And you know, the Bomet and Narok are kind of neighbors and kind of merged, so to speak. And then Narok itself is very expansive. So I can understand why, obviously I don't know the specifics, but I can understand why some returning officers will delay to get to the county tallying center. Having said that, I think it's very important that the officers take steps to get to the county tallying center so that we avoid this uncertainty that, to my mind, is beginning to develop, and that obviously is not good for the eventual credibility of the eventual outcome of the elections. Yes.
Irungu, on the same note, and you've been spending some time at the Bomas of Kenya, the National Tallying Center. Any way in which you can, sort of wade into this particular topic, and the challenge that the longer the wait, the more anxious the electorate become.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a tension between, the speed at which we're able to conclude this exercise and also the, I guess, the integrity of the exercise itself. So I think one of the things we have to say to Kenyans is that, 46,000 polling stations are not a small number. They need to be, these forms need to be verified. They need to be checked by all the party agents and the Electoral Commission itself. And we saw today quite a bit of tension at the tallying center. So if we're feeling tense in our homes, I think we have to say that for the party agents and the candidates and the representative, the presidential candidates, this is a very worrying time for them. We will hear a lot of conspiracy arguments and concerns and laptops that somehow sneaked into the building, but actually were okay. That's what we were told by the Electoral Commission, that there's not a problem with that. So I think we just have to be patient. Or again, just wait for the, I guess, the Electoral Commission to tell us what they have found.
Yeah, because I was going to ask, of course, they're walking the tightrope and the balance between, they've got 7 days to do it, so they still have a few days to go. But they also have to, deliver them, as quickly as possible, even though efficiently and accurately. And I guess that's a difficult balance. And of course, bearing in mind, 2017 and what happened there, and making sure that they're in line with regulation and they're accurate. So it's definitely not something that is easy, is it?
No, it isn't. And I don't think people should rush it. I think that's the point, is that it's better to get a clear, verifiable set of results rather than a quick set of results.
That would be contested and that sort of thing.
And,
Karen, can we talk about some of the results that we're getting, across the country, whilst all eyes are on Bomas with the national declaration that we await? Yeah. We're seeing some interesting things happening, sort of with the other 5 positions. What has stood out for you so far with those results?
Wow, for me, it's just so amazing to see many more women having been elected this time round. And I think we had many more women running for office this time than last year, same to young people. And I think also same to persons with disability, though I haven't looked at the statistics on persons with disability, but I've seen at least one person with disability has been elected. And for women, we are seeing many more numbers. And I tend to feel like there's a mind shift among Kenyans that women are as good leaders as the men. And young people, remember, was it in Bomet, we have a 24-year-old having been elected a member of parliament. Yeah, Toto. Yeah. So again, that is also a mindset shift that young people have something tangible to offer the nation. So those dynamics are very, very interesting.
Yeah, and if you take a look at Nakuru County, I think that has stood out so far. 11 constituencies in the county.
Yeah.
6 are female, and that includes the county woman member. You know, that's interesting. And, you know, we've been having this battle since the 2010 Constitution about what that working formula is. But it does seem that, you know, in some places, you know, they've managed. And by the way, even with the women, there's big upsets of men and incumbents.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
So that's also a big one. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So that also means that women have been more courageous to come out in large numbers, but then that the electorate, the mindset is also shifting to realize that we can be led by women. And that women have capacity, but also the work civil society has done, the media has done, of just educating the women and supporting the women to be more confident, to realize that, you know what, you can lead, you have capacity, you have potential. I think that is also part of why we are seeing the results as they are. I think right now we have about 6 or 7 governors elected.
Five
governors
unless
elected.
we
and
have
about
5
28 or so members of parliament elected in single constituencies. So that's a really big plus.
Yeah.
And I think, Irungu, even as we really celebrate the gains that have been made, unfortunately, the fact still remains that with nearly half of registered voters as women in Kenya, we still have the fewest number of elected female leaders. Okay, I haven't checked, so let's finish with this one, then we'll rejig those stats. Yeah. But that's been the reality for the longest time. And we have laws. There was an intention in our constitution to not have that happen. Where's the disconnect?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to retain the affirmative action principle, I think, in the Constitution and ensure that we see, you know, very conscious choices being made, not just by the electorate, but even by appointed officers to ensure that, you know, women are positioned. And I know there's a lot of debate about this at the moment, but the fact of the matter is that, you know, women still earn 25, 26% less than the average man. We still are below the regional, the continental average for women's representation. So we're still very far from a concept of gender parity. But, you know, how exciting it is to see Nakuru kind of lead the country on this, you know, and I just big ups to the, you know, the women there and the men who have voted for those women as well. In terms of persons with disabilities, it's not quite clear where that's reached at the moment. But, you know, I think one of the, in terms of, you know, one of the minority groups is, of course, persons with albinism. And we saw Martin Wanyoni be elected in Webuye, and just congratulations, Martin, and you know what an inspiration you will be to all the children and the people with albinism. That actually this is not a restriction in terms of leadership. So congratulations, and I'm not sure where Maura still running. Isaac?
No.
Okay.
He dropped out. He was supporting one of them.
Unfortunately, we may not see.
There's Timothy Wanyonyi, who's defended his seat in Westlands.
Right.
So you know that's also
in terms of persons with disability.
Yes.
So I think, you know, Martin, and we need to keep an eye on these things. I think the other thing that's really important for me is just looking at the character of the 13th Parliament, because it's not just about representation of minorities, women, youth, and people with disabilities, but it's also what's the caliber of the people that are coming to the Parliament. You know? And you know, we're seeing a couple of interesting people, and of course, let me just say this: as Amnesty, we are completely non-partisan in terms of this, but you know, we have to rejoice a little bit after the elections in terms of some of the people that are coming through. You know, Oki Omtata, the People's Watchman, the public interest advocate, and now has an opportunity to create laws, right? We have to celebrate that. We have to also celebrate a number of former political prisoners and prisoners of conscience, second liberation leaders, people like Jim Orengo, Anyang' Nyong'o, Yusuf Hassan. These are all people who, you know, have paid the price in the past when it wasn't easy to become a human rights activist. And I think just to congratulate them. Can I go on a couple more? Is that okay?
Maybe
one more. Okay, just one more.
One more, then we'll come back for the rest of the list.
Well, let me raise, if I was to choose one, I think, you know, the Garissa Senator, Abdul Hajj, who came in really on the back of the tragic passing of his father. But, you know, he's been elected now.
Yes.
And, of course, we remember him as the people's protector in Westgate. So there are, you know, they're individuals. And I really feel like, as Kenyans, we have to look at the political class with a bit of a discerning eye. We have to look at the individual characters. We can't just say this is a forest of whatever it is that we think it is. We actually need to look at the quality of the trees and recognize that actually people's past is not necessarily their future. right? We need to call people to greatness. We need to call them to the responsibilities that they now have.
Made a very interesting statement that we will need to interrogate when we come back. But I think we have some updates from Kwale, I believe.
And Nikki